Welcome, viewers, to this Polygon reVue interview with me, Sebastian Sjöberg. Today I am talking to none other than Nick Tasteless Plott, the very baller toss himself. Hello, Nick. Very welcome. How are we doing today?
I'm doing really good. It's about 6 p.m. over here in Korea, and I believe it's pretty early for you in the morning, so thank you for waking up and getting up to talk to me.
My pleasure. Well, Starcraft is quite exciting right now. You yourself have been living in South Korea and been working as a caster for professional Starcraft since 2008, I believe. And that's the very essence of the nerd dream in many ways. However, some people might be new to Starcraft, professional Starcraft, and they may not be entirely familiar with how you rose to this geek fame. Could you tell us a little bit how it all began for you?
I've been living in Korea for about 2 years now, commentating professionally. I think total commentary time probably about 5 years. I actually started out playing StarCraft as a competitive player, along with my brother, known as Day Nine, probably one of the best American Zergs of all time, actually easily one of
Yes.
the best. And after he started going to tournaments and flying around, I realized maybe I should stop playing random and pick out my best race. His best was Zerg, mine was Protoss. So I switched over to that, and the year I did that, I faced up against Noni in the 2005 WCG Southern qualifiers. I beat him, and then I was at the U.S. finals and actually lost to my brother. He knocked me out. We were in the final 12, and actually, well, at the time it sucked to lose. It was probably one of the best things that could have ever happened to me because I ended up having nothing to do other than ask the commentators who were on the stage if they needed any help. They said they did. It was not easy getting on there, but eventually I convinced them to let me up there, and that went well. And after that, I was invited to Singapore. They did a brief interview with me, but I was invited to Singapore to do some work at the WCG World Finals there. That was, of course, 2005. And my brother actually won the whole tournament, so that was fun. I got to go down there and hang out with him. And we went
Good.
down there. Yeah, yeah. And after that, of course, I was still in college the whole time. So I was studying philosophy and psychology, planning
Wow.
on going to grad school. And I would skip classes for about a week to go to these events. Like, for instance, in Italy, the World Finals there. And I did WWI in Korea and a few other events. And mostly I was doing it because I wanted to travel and I wanted to, meet some of these pro gamers and see them play in first person. Because at the time, really, my focus was more of being a competitive player. Still, I'm mostly focused on just learning how the game works. And eventually, about one semester before I finished up school, I got a job offer by a gentleman named Jason Lee, who works at Arirang TV, to come out to Korea and work there. And shortly after coming out there, I worked with GomTV as well, which I think is what I'm more known for nowadays.
It has been an impressive esports career indeed, and it's inspiring for many to hear. But skipping to the current climate, you just got back from Chengdu, China,
Yeah.
where you, together with Artosis, your comrade in arms, you were casting the World Cyber Games 2009, the Digital Olympics, if you will. As you've already mentioned, you've done this several times before, so how was this different this year and in China, and what moment was the most epic, if you will?
Yeah, this is my fifth year doing the WCG. I just got back about 4 days ago. And speaking of Artosis, I'm actually in his apartment. We just had coffee earlier today. And
Ah, what an honor.
yeah, we were watching the Daily Show together. And then it came time to get on and interview you. So here I am. But yeah, he's out right now. He'll probably be back in a little bit. As far as the World Cyber Games goes, that's where I started my career. It's always fun to work with those guys. I do like their model for kind of trying to unify the world scene, even not just with StarCraft, but with everything. It was a lot of fun to go to Chengdu, China. It was not my first time in China, but it was certainly quite an experience. Chengdu, very different than a lot of the other big cities I visited.
It's where
A
they got the
lot of
pandas, isn't it? Sorry for interrupting you.
that's where all the panda bear guys come from. They're not extinct yet. We keep breeding them down in Chengdu, China. Actually, what was great was Artosis and me got to go to the largest panda bear sanctuary in the world.
Whoa.
I got some pictures of that. It was very cool. A lot of fun. But as far as the event goes, we, I had a lot of fun. Artosis is, my favorite person to work with. I broadcasted with probably over 8 or 9 different people in the past 5 years, so that was fun to go down to the WCG. It was also interesting for me because, living in Korea, you kind of assume that esports is obviously the biggest in Korea, and it is, but you assume that nothing rivals it. And what's interesting about going down to Chengdu, for me, was seeing how many people actually showed up. This event location was not in the center of the city. Chengdu, it's not like it's Shanghai or Beijing. It's not the most notable city in China. That doesn't delegitimize it, but what it does is it's surprising for me to see how many people just in Chengdu would show up. There was an innumerable amount. I don't actually have the numbers, but when Dan and me were there, we said it looked like at least 15,000. It was the largest crowd I've ever seen for a World Cyber Games event, larger than Singapore, which was quite big. And for me, that was, that made me really happy, made me all warm and fuzzy inside because it made me realize that it's not just going to be in Korea, this esports microcosm. It's going to expand out. And that was really exciting for me, especially to see how passionate the crowd was. Sometimes at some of these larger esports events, you get a big crowd, but they might have just been walking by the event and strolled in, or a multitude of different things. These people showed up. They knew the game. They knew the players. And it was very exciting. I worked with Quad V, very fun company to work with. And as far as the most epic match, I want to say the finals with Stork and Jadong, game number 2. But to me, being there in the event and watching all these people react, it was PJ versus Bisu that sticks out in my mind. The group stage, because the entire audience, this countless number of people just cheering that Bisu would lose, and he almost did. I mean, he essentially was dead, but managed to come back due to a blunder from PJ. So that was really exciting. I was quite moved, to see that kind of unfold. And I know when I was talking to Artosis afterwards, we kind of had the same feeling of just, wow, this is just so powerful. And it's exciting not just because, to see all these people like Starcraft, but to see esports kind of expanding and globalize a little bit more.
Indeed it is. I watched it via the live stream, and if any of you viewers out there have missed any of the matches and want to know what's going on, there's a link to all the games commented by Tasteless and Artosis in the sidebar. It was a truly epic event, and as you say, the crowd was enormous. I hope to go myself next time, which is in California, and I suppose you'll be attending that as well.
Yeah, presumably yes. Unless some kind of schedule conflict comes up, I can't imagine that happening. WCG I've been working with longer than any other event, so I mean, I would presumably yes. That would be the safest bet. Yeah. And I'm curious to see what it's going to be like in LA. The United States is a little bit farther behind than when you look at the European scene or China or Korea. The United States is kind of playing catch up. I know I was there in Seattle, the World Finals a little while ago, so I'm looking forward to seeing if it's going to be bigger, better. I have confidence that it will be.
Let us hope so. Chances are good, I would say. However, there is something that everyone who listens to this interview are wondering. Namely, until a few months ago, you were casting for GomTV and providing the international Starcraft community with top-class English coverage of progaming. However, since then, GomTV has ceased its operations for reasons that are not entirely clear, though the rumors are many. I understand that perhaps you cannot fully talk about everything, but at least can you tell us something about what's going to happen in the future, if not the past? Will we hear you be casting Starcraft regularly again at some point, do you think?